I'm Marie Phillips, and I swear the universe has a twisted sense of humor. 3 minutes before closing time at Downtown Records, my fingers brushed against the last Miles Davis pressing just as someone else's hand landed on the exact same album. Sorry, I was here first. The voice belonged to a blonde woman with the kind of blue eyes that made my medical training completely irrelevant. Actually, I think we grabbed it simultaneously. I held my ground studying her face, high cheekbones, full lips, hands that looked like they belonged to an artist rather than another vinyl collector. She smiled, and damn if my heart didn't skip like a scratched record. How about we flip for it? Or we could discuss it over coffee. I'm Marie. Alana. She released the album. Coffee sounds infinitely more civilized than coin tosses. The shop owner locked up behind us as we walked toward the cafe next door. Tucson's October air carried that perfect desert evening coolness that made everything feel possible. So what draws you to Kind of Blue? I asked, settling into the corner booth. The way Davis binds silence into his compositions. Like bookbinding, really. You need space between the pages for the story to breathe. Alana's hands moved as she spoke, graceful gestures that hypnotized me. Bookbinding? That's incredibly specific. I restore vintage books, hand-bind new ones sometimes. What about you? Team medic for the university. I patch up athletes who think they're invincible. Her laugh was genuine, musical. We both fix broken things then. Something electric passed between us. Not the cheesy romance novel kind, but something real and unexpected. Like finding the perfect song you never knew you needed. I have a confession, Alana said, leaning closer. I already own that album. Then why did you grab it? Because you looked like someone worth talking to. The cafe buzzed around us, but her words created this bubble where only we existed. I pulled out my phone, fingers slightly unsteady. Give me your number. I want to see your workshop sometime. Only if you promise to explain why you became a medic instead of a musician. Your hands look like they belong on piano keys. I typed her number into my contacts, already planning our next meeting. Outside, Tucson's lights twinkled like possibilities, and I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Same time next week? Alana asked as we parted ways. It's a date. The word hung in the air between us, loaded with promise and uncertainty. But as I watched her walk away, blonde hair catching the streetlight, I knew I'd never wanted anything more than to see where this unexpected melody would take us. The next morning brought chaos. Star pitcher Jake Martinez collapsed during practice, clutching his shoulder like his career depended on it. Which it probably did. Rotator cuff strain, I diagnosed, pressing ice against the swollen joint. 2 weeks minimum recovery. But my mind kept drifting to blonde hair and artist hands. Professional focus felt impossible when Alana's laugh echoed in my memory. My phone buzzed during lunch break. Unknown number. Marie? It's Alana. I have a medical emergency. My pulse spiked. What happened? Where are you? Paper cuts. Multiple lacerations from antique binding materials. Potentially life-threatening. I paused, catching the playful tone beneath her mock-serious delivery. Paper cuts? Very deep ones. I might need professional medical consultation. You're ridiculous. Is that your clinical diagnosis, Dr. Phillips? The flirtation in her voice made my cheeks warm. I'm not a doctor. Just a medic who patches up overgrown children who call themselves athletes. Even better. Less intimidating credentials. I laughed despite myself. Show me these life-threatening injuries tomorrow night. Dinner first? Perfect. There's this place called Desert Moon. 7 o'clock? Desert Moon sat tucked between two art galleries, all exposed brick and dim lighting. Alana arrived wearing a sundress that showcased those incredible hands I'd been thinking about for 24 hours straight. You clean up nice, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. So do you. Though I was expecting bloody bandages. She held up perfectly unmarked fingers. Miraculous recovery. Our conversation flowed like wine, touching on everything from her apprenticeship with elderly book restorers to my decision to work with athletes instead of traditional patients. She described binding techniques with the same passion I felt discussing sports medicine. There's something meditative about restoration, Alana explained, twirling pasta around her fork. Taking something broken and making it whole again. Same with injuries. Finding the source of pain and fixing it. Except books don't complain when you work on them. You've never met my athletes. The restaurant gradually emptied around us, but neither wanted the evening to end. When she walked me to my car, the desert air carried jasmine and possibility. I had an amazing time, I said, keys jingling nervously in my palm. Me too. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Marie? Yeah? I really want to kiss you right now. My heart hammered against my ribs. What's stopping you? Her lips met mine softly, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Her hands framed my face, and I melted into the sweetness of the moment. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, I knew I was in serious trouble. Damn, I whispered. Good damn, or bad damn? Definitely good damn. She smiled, backing toward her car. Call me tomorrow? Already planning on it. 2 days later, Alana invited me to her workshop. The converted garage behind her craftsman house smelled like leather and old paper, tools arranged with surgical precision across handmade tables. Welcome to my sanctuary, she said, guiding me past shelves lined with books in various stages of restoration. I watched her hands move across a 1,920 seconds poetry collection, fingers dancing between needle and thread with the same confidence I felt setting dislocated joints. Every gesture was purposeful, elegant. This belonged to someone's grandmother, Alana explained, carefully separating damaged pages. Love letters pressed between the poems, 60 years of romance, literally binding the story together. Her concentration was mesmerizing. The way she handled fragile materials reminded me of my own careful approach to injured athletes, except her patients were stories instead of people. You're staring, she said without looking up. Sorry, it's just incredible watching you work. Good incredible or creepy incredible? Definitely good incredible. She set down her tools and turned toward me, blue eyes sparkling with mischief. Want to see something really special? From a locked cabinet, she retrieved a leather-bound journal, pages thick with age and possibility. I made this for myself, but I keep thinking it belongs to someone else. Her fingers traced the cover. Someone who understands the value of preserving important moments. The gift hit me harder than expected. Alana, I can't accept this. Why not? Because it's too perfect, too thoughtful, too everything. She stepped closer, closing the distance between us. Maybe that's exactly why you should take it. Saturday's softball game brought unusual nerves, not because of the opposing team, but because Alana promised to watch from the bleachers. I spotted her immediately, blonde hair catching afternoon sunlight like a beacon. She cheered louder than anyone when I successfully treated a player's twisted ankle without calling for backup. Her enthusiasm made me feel like a superhero, instead of just another medic with basic training. After the game, she appeared beside my equipment bag, grinning like she'd won something. You're incredible out there, she said. Just doing my job? No, there's something else. The way you handle pressure, stay calm when everyone's panicking. It's beautiful. Her words wrapped around me like warm blankets. Nobody had ever called my medical skills beautiful before. That evening, we ended up at my apartment with takeout Chinese food and her vinyl collection. She'd brought 3 albums, claiming emergency musical education was necessary for my cultural development. Wine loosened our conversation, made everything feel more intimate. We sat close on my couch, her bare shoulder brushing mine as she reached for her glass. Marie? Yeah? I'm falling for you. Hard. The confession hung between us, vulnerable and honest. I set down my wine, turned to face her fully. Good, because I'm already there. Our second kiss was different from the first. Hungrier, more certain. Her hands tangled in my hair while mine explored the curve of her waist, the softness of her skin beneath thin fabric. Are you sure? She whispered against my lips. I've never been more sure of anything. We moved to my bedroom slowly, savoring each moment. Her touch was reverent, careful, like she was binding something precious together. When she whispered my name in the darkness, it sounded like prayer and promise combined. Every caress felt like restoration, healing parts of myself I hadn't realized were broken. Afterward, we lay tangled in sheets and moonlight, her head on my chest, breathing synchronized like we'd been doing this for years instead of hours. "This changes everything," she murmured. "I hope so." Morning light filtered through my bedroom curtains, illuminating Alana's peaceful face against my pillow. Her blonde hair spread across the sheets like spun gold, and I couldn't resist tracing gentle patterns along her bare shoulder. "Good morning, beautiful," I whispered when her eyes fluttered open. Best wake-up call ever." She stretched languidly, pulling me closer. "What time is it? Early enough for breakfast in bed? Or we could just stay here forever." The temptation was overwhelming, but reality intruded in the form of my growling stomach. We eventually made it to the kitchen, where I attempted pancakes while she perched on my counter, wearing only my oversized medical conference t-shirt. "You realize this is dangerously domestic," she observed, stealing bites of batter. "Good dangerous or bad dangerous?" "Definitely good dangerous." Her laugh filled my kitchen, and I understood with startling clarity that I was falling harder than I'd ever fallen for anyone. The realization should have terrified me, but instead, it felt like coming home. The following week, Alana introduced me to her artist friends at a gallery opening downtown. She kept her hand on the small of my back, claiming her territory with subtle touches that made my skin sing. "Everyone, this is Marie," she announced to a group of painters and sculptors. "She's the one I've been talking about." "The medic?" asked a woman with purple hair and paint-stained fingers. "The one who makes me forget how to use complete sentences," Alana corrected, squeezing my hand. Her friends welcomed me with easy warmth, drawing me into conversations about art and healing, finding connections between their creative processes and my medical work, but I only had eyes for Alana, watching her animated discussions about restoration techniques and artistic philosophy. "You're smitten," observed Marcus, a sculptor with knowing eyes. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to everyone with functioning vision." I didn't care about subtlety anymore. Alana was magnetic, brilliant, and somehow mine. Weekend camping in Saguaro National Park felt like a honeymoon we hadn't officially earned yet. Alana packed vintage thermoses and homemade trail mix while I handled the medical supplies and navigation equipment. "Look at us being all outdoorsy," she said, struggling with tent poles. "Speak for yourself. I actually know what I'm doing." Show off. But her teasing held affection, and when I successfully erected our shelter, she rewarded me with kisses that tasted like desert air and possibility. That night, we lay on blankets outside the tent, staring up at stars invisible from the city. The Milky Way stretched across the darkness like spilled diamonds, and Alana's head rested on my shoulder. "I want to travel with you," she said suddenly. "See the world, collect stories to bind into books later." "Where would we go first?" "Italy. All those ancient libraries and bookbinding traditions. You could study European sports medicine techniques. You've given this serious thought." "I've given us serious thought." She turned to face me, starlight catching in her blue eyes. "Is that crazy? We've known each other 3 weeks. If it's crazy, then I'm certifiably insane too." Her smile could have powered the entire desert. "Good. Because I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with you, Marie Phillips." "Pretty sure?" "Completely, utterly, head over heels certain. Then we're even, because I'm already there." We made love under the stars, her skin luminous in moonlight, every touch a promise of tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. When she whispered my name into the desert silence, it sounded like forever. 3 blissful weeks into our relationship, Alana dropped the bomb over morning coffee. "My roommate's moving out. I found someone new to split the rent." "That's great, babe. Financial stress is the last thing you need while building your business." Her name's Angela Hill. She's an artist, works in mixed media and photography. Something in Alana's tone made me look up from my medical journals. Her cheeks held a faint flush, the kind that appeared when she was excited about something. "When's she moving in?" "This weekend. You'll love her. She has this incredible energy, very androgynous style, really challenges conventional gender presentations." The way Alana's eyes lit up when describing Angela sent an uncomfortable twist through my stomach. I'd never heard her use those particular adjectives about anyone, including me. Saturday arrived with Angela Hill in tow, along with boxes of photography equipment and clothing that defied easy categorization. She stood about my height, with striking red hair cropped short and piercing gray eyes that seemed to catalog everything they saw. "You must be the famous medic," Angela said, extending a firm handshake. "Alana talks about you constantly." "Good things, I hope." "The best things." But her smile held secrets I couldn't decipher. Angela moved through Alana's space like she belonged there, rearranging furniture with casual confidence. She wore fitted pants that could have been men's or women's, paired with a flowing top that somehow made the combination work perfectly. "Your girlfriend has incredible hands," Angela told me while Alana was in the kitchen. "Perfect for detailed work. She's amazingly talented." Talent's just the beginning. It's the passion that makes her special. The conversation felt loaded with meaning I couldn't quite grasp. Angela's gaze was too direct, too knowing, like she saw things the rest of us missed. That evening, Alana suggested dinner at her favorite Thai restaurant. Angela fits seamlessly into our dynamic, contributing witty observations and asking thoughtful questions about my work. But I noticed how Alana hung on Angela's every word, laughing louder at her jokes than seemed necessary. "Tell Marie about your photography project," Alana encouraged. "I'm documenting people who exist outside traditional gender binaries," Angela explained, exploring how identity transcends physical presentation. "That sounds fascinating," I said, though something about the subject made me uncomfortable. Bodies are just vessels, really. The soul doesn't recognize gender limitations. Alana nodded enthusiastically. "That's exactly what I've been thinking lately. How labels can be so restrictive." "Labels? You know, lesbian, straight, bisexual. Sometimes I wonder if we box ourselves in unnecessarily." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "What do you mean?" "Just that attraction is more fluid than we pretend. More about connection than categories." Angela's knowing smile suggested this wasn't a random philosophical discussion. The subtext felt dangerous, like standing on shifting ground. Later, after Angela excused herself to unpack, Alana and I sat on her couch with wine and vinyl records spinning softly in the background. "She's interesting," I ventured carefully. "Isn't she incredible? So intelligent and artistic. There's something magnetic about people who refuse to be defined by society's expectations." "Magnetic?" Alana's cheeks flushed again. "You know what I mean? Some people just have this energy that draws you in. Like you drew me in at the record store?" "Different kind of energy." She leaned against me, but her body felt distant. Angela makes me question things I thought I knew about myself. The admission hit like ice water. "What kinds of things?" "Nothing major. Just wondering if I've been too narrow in my thinking." But the way she avoided my eyes suggested it was definitely major. Something had shifted between us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Angela's arrival marked the beginning of complications I wasn't prepared to handle. When Alana kissed me goodnight, it felt perfunctory, like her mind was elsewhere. As I drove home, I caught myself wondering if 3 weeks of happiness was all we were destined to have. The shift started slowly, like a hairline fracture spreading through perfect bone. I first noticed it when I stopped by Alana's workshop unannounced, finding her and Angela huddled over photography prints, their heads bent close together in intimate conversation. "These captures are extraordinary," Alana was saying, her voice holding a breathless quality I'd never heard before. "The way you framed gender fluidity as artistic beauty." Angela's fingers brushed Alana's as she pointed to specific images. "You understand the vision perfectly. Most people can't see past their preconceptions." They looked up when I cleared my throat, but something guilty flickered across Alana's face before she smiled. "Marie, I didn't hear you come in." Obviously. The word came out sharper than intended. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your artistic consultation." "Don't be silly. Angela was just showing me her latest work. It's revolutionary." Revolutionary. She'd never used that word about my medical techniques or anyone else's creative efforts. Angela's gray eyes held amusement, like she was watching a predictable drama unfold. I should let you two catch up, Angela said, gathering her prints. Dinner later, Alana? Absolutely. That new fusion place downtown? My stomach twisted. They'd made plans without including me, casual as breathing. What's going on? I asked after Angela left. Nothing's going on. We're roommates becoming friends. Is that problematic? The way you look at her is problematic. Alana's defenses rose immediately. How do I look at her? Like she's the most fascinating person you've ever encountered. She is fascinating. Her perspective challenges everything I thought I understood about attraction and identity. What does that mean exactly? Alana moved to her workbench, hands fidgeting with binding tools. It means maybe I've been limiting myself. Maybe lesbian is just another restrictive label. The words hit like physical blows. Restrictive label? We've been together 6 weeks, Alana. 6 incredible weeks where you seemed perfectly happy with your identity. People evolve, Marie. Angela's helping me explore parts of myself I've kept buried. What parts? Curiosity about attraction beyond gender binaries. Wondering if connection transcends physical presentations. I stared at this woman I thought I knew, searching for traces of the person who'd whispered forever promises under desert stars. Are you attracted to Angela? The pause stretched too long. It's complicated. No, it's really not. Either you are or you aren't. Fine. Yes. I'm attracted to her fluidity, her refusal to be categorized. There's something liberating about someone who exists outside traditional definitions. Traditional definitions like lesbian? Like us? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. My hands shook as I gathered my jacket and keys. Professional composure, the skill that kept me calm during medical emergencies, completely abandoned me. Where are you going? Home. Clearly, you have some soul searching to do. Marie, don't be dramatic. Dramatic? My girlfriend just told me she's questioning her sexual identity because of her roommate. That seems like appropriate drama territory. I need time to figure things out. Then take it. But don't expect me to wait around while you experiment with someone else. The drive home blurred past through angry tears. At my apartment, I threw myself into reorganizing medical supplies. Anything to avoid thinking about Lantana's confession or the way she'd looked at Angela like she held answers to questions I'd never thought to ask. My phone buzzed with texts I didn't read, voice messages I couldn't bear to hear. 3 days later, mutual friends confirmed what I already suspected. Alana and Angela had been seen together everywhere, holding hands, sharing intimate dinners, looking like a couple exploring new territory. The betrayal cut deeper than expected. Not just losing Alana, but losing the future we'd started planning. Italy trips and shared apartments and all those whispered promises that apparently meant nothing when someone more interesting appeared. I threw myself into work, pulling double shifts and volunteering for every emergency call. Physical exhaustion was easier than emotional processing. At least injured athletes had problems I could actually fix. 6 weeks of radio silence stretched between Alana and me, like a chasm filled with unspoken regrets. I channeled my heartbreak into 12-hour shifts, treating everything from sprained ankles to concussions with mechanical precision. Pain was easier to diagnose in others than in myself. Meanwhile, through the gossip network that connected Tucson's small lesbian community, I heard fragments of Alana's exploration. Coffee dates with Angela. Art gallery openings where they appeared increasingly comfortable together. Weekend trips to Phoenix museums, documenting their journey through Angela's photography lens. But apparently the experiment wasn't yielding expected results. It's not working, I overheard Angela telling a mutual friend at the farmer's market. Physical attraction isn't enough when emotional connection is missing. She keeps comparing everything to what she had before. Before, meaning me. The revelation sparked something dangerous. Hope. 3 days later, Angela appeared at the University Athletic Center, finding me during my lunch break between treatments. We need to talk, she said without preamble. Do we? About Alana. About what she's too stubborn to admit. I followed her to the empty bleachers, curiosity overriding pride. Angela's usual confident demeanor seemed subdued, almost defeated. This isn't working, she said simply. What we're trying to do. The exploration, the experimentation. It's not authentic. What do you mean? I mean, Alana's heart isn't available for exploration because it belongs to someone else. Someone who makes her laugh like she means it. Someone whose absence has turned her into a shadow of herself. If you're trying to make me feel better about being replaced, this isn't helping. I'm not trying to make you feel better. I'm trying to fix my mistake. Angela turned to face me directly, gray eyes serious. I pushed boundaries that shouldn't have been pushed. Encouraged questions that didn't need asking. Your relationship was beautiful, and I interfered because I was lonely and selfish. She made her choice. She made a confused choice influenced by someone who should have known better. Alana loves you, Marie, completely, desperately, authentically. But she's convinced she's lost you forever. My chest tightened with familiar longing. She could call, text, something. Pride, mostly. Fear that you hate her for the confusion and the hurt she caused. I don't hate her. But you're dating other people. The accusation stung because it was true. 2 awkward coffee dates and 1 disastrous dinner with women who were that blonde bookbinders with artistic hands and infectious laughs. Trying to date other people, I corrected. It's not exactly working either. Angela smiled for the first time since arriving. Good, because Alana's been equally unsuccessful at moving forward. She tried exactly once, lasted about 20 minutes before making excuses and coming home to cry over vinyl records. How do you know all this if you're not together anymore? Because we're roommates who became friends. Real friends this time, without the complications of misguided attraction. I care about her happiness, which means I care about getting her back to you. The admission surprised me. Why would you help us reconcile? Because watching someone you care about pine for their true love is depressing as hell. Also because I owe you an apology. I knew she was falling for me for the wrong reasons, and I let it continue because the attention felt good. What were the wrong reasons? Novelty. Rebellion against labels. The excitement of something different, rather than genuine attraction. Physical curiosity isn't the same as emotional connection, and the difference became obvious pretty quickly. Angela stood, brushing dust from her jeans. She's going to that vinyl record convention this weekend, downtown convention center, Saturday afternoon. In case you were wondering where someone might accidentally run into an ex-girlfriend who needs to have an honest conversation. Why are you telling me this? Because love like yours doesn't come around often. I'd hate to see it wasted on pride and miscommunication. After Angela left, I sat alone on the bleachers, processing everything she'd revealed. Alana was struggling too, missing what we'd had together, realizing that experimentation hadn't led to enlightenment, just confusion and regret. Maybe broken things could be restored, like the vintage books in her workshop. Maybe some stories deserved second chances, careful rebinding with stronger materials and more attention to detail. Saturday's vinyl convention suddenly seemed like the most important event on my calendar. Saturday morning brought rain to Tucson, unusual for October, and oddly fitting for my nervous energy. I'd changed clothes 3 times, settling on jeans and the blue sweater Alana once said matched my eyes. The convention center buzzed with vinyl enthusiasts, hunting rare pressings and vintage treasures. I wandered aimlessly between booths, half looking for albums while scanning faces for familiar blonde hair. 2 hours in, I'd nearly given up when I spotted her at a booth specializing in jazz imports. She wore that vintage sundress I loved, hair pulled back in a loose bun that showcased the elegant line of her neck. My heart hammered as I approached, muscle memory flooding back, the way she tilted her head when concentrating, how her fingers traced album spines with reverent care. Everything I'd missed desperately for 6 weeks. Kind of blue, I said, nodding toward the Miles Davis pressing in her hands. She spun around, blue eyes wide with surprise, and something that looked like relief. Marie. My name sounded like prayer on her lips. Still collecting albums you already own? A smile flickered across her face. Old habits. We stood there awkwardly, surrounded by the bustle of record hunters, while our own world narrowed to this single moment. She looked thinner, shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there before. Can we talk? She asked finally. Somewhere quieter? I followed her outside to a small courtyard, where desert plants thrived, despite the unexpected weather. Rain had stopped, leaving everything smelling clean and possible. I messed everything up. She began without preamble. The confusion, the questions hurting you. I'm so sorry, Marie. What happened with Angela? Nothing real. Physical attraction without emotional foundation. I kept waiting to feel something authentic, but every moment reminded me what I'd lost. Her voice broke slightly, what I'd thrown away for stupid curiosity. Why didn't you call? Pride. Fear that you'd moved on. Convinced you hated me for the pain I caused. I stepped closer, close enough to smell her familiar perfume. I could never hate you. Hurt, confused, angry, yes, but never hate. I love you, Marie. Only you. The experimentation taught me that what we had was rare and precious, and I was an idiot to risk it. Alana. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know trust takes time to rebuild, but if there's any possibility of us trying again, I'll spend however long it takes proving you're the only person I want. Her honesty broke through my carefully constructed walls. 6 weeks of trying to forget her, of convincing myself I was better off alone, crumbled in the face of her tears and desperate sincerity. I never stopped loving you either, I admitted. Tried dating others, but nobody compared. Nobody made me laugh like you do. Nobody understood my work or shared my dreams the same way. Really? Really? She reached for my hands tentatively, like I might pull away. When I didn't, her fingers interlaced with mine, familiar and perfect. I have something for you, she said, pulling a small wrapped package from her purse. I made it weeks ago but didn't have the courage to give it to you. Inside was a hand-bound journal, leather cover tooled with intricate designs. My initials were embossed on the front in gold lettering. For new beginnings, she explained. If you'll have me back. Alana. I know it's presumptuous. I just hoped. Instead of answering with words, I kissed her. Right there in the courtyard, rain-washed and desperate and full of 6 weeks' worth of longing. She melted into me like she belonged there, hands tangling in my hair, both of us crying and laughing simultaneously. Is that a yes? She whispered against my lips. That's definitely a yes. We drove to her workshop in separate cars, but I followed close behind, afraid if I lost sight of her taillights, this reconciliation might prove to be another dream. Her workshop looked exactly the same, tools arranged precisely, books in various stages of restoration, but everything felt different now, charged with second chances and hard-won wisdom. I miss this place, I said, running my fingers along her workbench. I missed sharing it with you. She moved closer, backing me against the table where she'd shown me her first restoration project months ago. This time, her touch held reverence mixed with hunger, like she was memorizing me all over again. Are you sure? She asked, echoing our first night together. I've never been more sure. We made love surrounded by restored books and new possibilities, her whispered apologies mixing with my forgiveness, both of us understanding that some stories require careful editing before they reach their proper ending. 6 months later, I stood in Alana's workshop, holding a small velvet box, heart hammering like I was about to perform emergency surgery without anesthesia. The vintage engagement ring had belonged to my grandmother, a simple Art Deco setting with a small diamond that caught light like promises. I'd hidden it inside one of Alana's restoration projects, a 1940s poetry collection she'd been working on for weeks. Marie, come look at this binding technique, she called from her workbench, completely absorbed in threading needle through leather. In a minute, I'm admiring your latest masterpiece. The poetry book sat open to a page I'd carefully marked, ring nestled where a pressed flower might normally rest between verses about eternal love. This Dickinson collection is incredible, she continued, not looking up. The original owner preserved it perfectly, even found love letters tucked inside the back cover. Love letters? Sweet ones. A couple who waited through the war to be married, their patience paid off with 60 years together. Perfect timing. Sometimes the universe actually cooperated. Alana. Just let me finish this stitch. Alana, look at the book. She glanced down, fingers freezing mid-motion when she spotted the ring glinting among Emily Dickinson's words about hearts that beat as one. Marie? Her voice came out breathless, uncertain. Marry me. The needle slipped from her fingers as she turned to face me fully, blue eyes wide with shock and something that looked like joy. Are you serious? Dead serious. I want to travel to Italy with you. I want to watch you restore ancient manuscripts while I study European sports medicine. I want to wake up next to you for the next 60 years and leave love letters for someone else to find. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she picked up the ring with trembling fingers, examining it like a precious artifact. It's beautiful. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we reconciled. Maybe since the day we met. Yes. The word came out as a whisper, then stronger. Yes, absolutely yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger, perfect fit like everything else between us. She launched herself into my arms, knocking over a stack of book covers in her enthusiasm. We're engaged. She laughed against my lips. We're engaged. 3 months later, we stood in the Tucson Botanical Gardens surrounded by desert blooms and carefully chosen friends. Angela officiated, having gotten ordained online specifically for our ceremony. Love stories come in many forms, Angela began, addressing our small gathering. Some are written quickly, others require careful editing and restoration. Marie and Alana's love proved that the best stories are worth revising, worth fighting for, worth binding together permanently. Alana wore a vintage dress that matched her eyes, hair crowned with desert wildflowers. I'd chosen a simple suit that let her shine like the masterpiece she was. Do you, Marie, take Alana to be your wife, your partner in all adventures, your co-author in this continuing story? I do. Do you, Alana, take Marie to be your wife, your companion through all plot twists, your fellow book lover and music collector? I do. Then by the power vested in me by the internet and the state of Arizona, I pronounce you married. Kiss your bride, both of you. Our kiss tasted like forever and new beginnings, witnessed by friends who'd watched us fall apart and choose each other again. Later, at our tiny reception, we danced to Miles Davis, while desert sunset painted everything golden. No regrets? I asked as we swayed together. Only that we waited so long to figure it out. Good thing we're both patient people. Good thing we both believe in restoration. Our first apartment as wives combined medical textbooks with vintage literature, vinyl records with anatomy charts. Organized chaos that somehow worked perfectly, like us. The leather journal Alana made me sits on our shared desk, filled now with wedding plans, travel dreams, and daily love notes we'll leave for future generations to discover. Our story, carefully bound and ready for whatever chapters come next. Some love stories require editing, some need complete restoration, but the best ones, the ones worth keeping, find their way back to the perfect ending, stronger for having been tested. We found our perfect ending, and it's really just the beginning.